He made me promise not to leave him while she was carrying his child. I remember the way his hands trembled when he said it, like he was the one broken, like I had done something cruel. His eyes were bloodshot, voice cracking, begging me not to walk away. And all I could think about was how long he had been sleeping with her, this woman who now carried what I could never give him. Hello my beautiful people. Welcome back to the channel. I want to start by thanking each and every one of you, especially my loyal subscribers. Your support means the world. And if you are new here or just watching without hitting that subscribe button, I am sending you a huge virtual hug. Please do not forget to subscribe, it is the fuel that keeps me going. And after you hear what I am about to share, I hope you leave a comment. Tell me what you would have done if you were in my shoes. My name is Emily. I am 38 years old, a white woman from Georgia, and until recently, I believed I was living a quiet, loving suburban life with my husband Daniel. We met 13 years ago at a church picnic in Macon. He was tall, charming, had this southern boy charm that made every word sound like honey. I was a teacher, recently divorced. He was in real estate, divorced too, no kids. We healed together. Fell in love through shared wounds. Married 2 years later. Moved into a cozy brick home outside Atlanta. I thought I finally found safe ground. But safety is an illusion when love hides secrets. Daniel had always been affectionate. Flowers for no reason. Handwritten notes tucked in my coat pocket. Sunday morning breakfast in bed. But love like that becomes a smokescreen when something darker is growing behind it. I first noticed something off around Thanksgiving last year. He began coming home later, saying his office was reorganizing their listings. I had no reason to question him. I trusted him more than I trusted myself. Until the night I woke up at 2 a.m. and he was not in bed. I found him downstairs, shirtless, on the phone. He said it was his assistant, Claire, panicking over a lost client file. He said she was new and nervous. He smiled and kissed my forehead. I wanted to believe him. I needed to. A month later, I found her earring in his truck. Not the kind of earring you could mistake for mine. Hers was long, gold, with a tiny green gem at the end. I asked him about it. He laughed and said Claire had probably dropped it during a lunch meeting. She sat in his car to get out of the cold. That is what he said. The lie tasted smooth when he fed it to me. That is how I know it had been rehearsed. By February, things got worse. He was anxious, jumpy. His phone never left his hand. He would not even let it charge unless it was face down. The man who once begged me to read his texts if I ever felt unsure now flinched when I asked him what time it was on his phone. But the final blow came in March. I was at the grocery store, Publix, just before closing time. I saw them. Not holding hands. Not kissing. But close. Too close. Her belly was showing. Pregnant belly. And she looked happy. He looked guilty. I stood by the cereal aisle, frozen. My chest collapsed in on itself. I texted him from 20 feet away, "Where are you right now?" He replied, "In bed, babe. Long day." That was the moment something inside me cracked. I did not cry. I did not scream. I just watched them leave. Watched her hold his arm. Watched him rub her stomach like he had waited his whole life for that child. A child I could never give him after my second miscarriage. I drove home in silence. When he came in later, he tried to undress me. Kissed my neck like nothing happened. Said he missed me. I asked him, "Do you love her?" He paused. Just long enough to confirm everything. And then he did the most sickening thing I have ever seen in my life. He fell to his knees. Said he made a mistake. Said it was over. Said I was everything. And then he said it. "Please do not leave me. Promise me you will not leave me." I stared down at him. This man I married. This man who buried his guilt in another woman's body and planted a seed inside her. This man who came home to my arms every night after touching her. And I whispered, "Who is she?" He said her name. Claire. His assistant. The same woman he told me not to worry about. The same woman who now carried his child. He told me she had planned to get rid of it. Said he begged her to keep it. Said he panicked. Said he was confused. He cried, swore he would never see her again. Begged me to stay. But all I could think was, that baby was alive inside her. And I had buried too. I did not sleep that night. I sat by the window, staring into the darkness, watching his reflection in the glass. Wondering if I had ever really known the man beside me. Wondering what kind of woman I had become to still be breathing in the same room as him. I did not leave. Not yet. Because betrayal makes you question everything, even your own strength. But the story is far from over. And the truth? It gets worse. The next morning, I woke up in a house that felt like a crime scene. Daniel had left early, his side of the bed cold and hollow. I laid there, staring at the ceiling, waiting to feel something, anything, but the shock had numbed me. Only my stomach churned, reminding me I was still alive and stuck in a nightmare. He had kissed her stomach. I kept seeing it. His hand on her belly. His mouth pressed against her skin like it was sacred. That image would not leave me. And the worst part? I saw peace in his face. Love. Tenderness. The kind I used to believe was reserved for me. I finally got up and stumbled to the bathroom. I stood in front of the mirror, looking at the woman he had betrayed. My eyes were puffy from crying. My lips were cracked. My skin looked drained, like every bit of joy had been wrung out of it. I did not recognize myself. My reflection looked like someone halfway between a wife and a fool. Downstairs, the silence was unbearable. So I turned on the TV just to drown out the sound of my own thoughts. But even that did not help. The news anchor's voice blended into a buzz, a background hum behind the chaos in my head. Every corner of the house was tainted now. The kitchen where I used to cook his favorite lemon chicken, now a reminder of how many nights he came home late, smelling of guilt. The living room where we cuddled during movie nights, now a place I could not sit without remembering that she had probably been on that same couch while I was gone for the weekend visiting my sister. Claire. I never knew her name until last night. But now, it echoed in my skull like a bell I could not unring. I had not slept. Not really. I had drifted in and out of dreams soaked with betrayal. 1 minute, Daniel was whispering in my ear that I was the only woman he would ever love. The next, I saw her face, young, glowing, and full of something I had not seen in my own face in years, belief. Belief that he was hers. The door opened around 10. Daniel walked in with coffee and flowers. As if petals could fix a wound that deep. He set them on the kitchen counter and looked at me like nothing had happened. "Morning," he said, like we were normal. I stared at him. That was all I could do, just stare. He moved closer. "I know last night was a lot. Can we talk?" I did not move. His face fell. "Emily, please. I need you to understand." "No," I said, cutting him off. "You do not get to ask for understanding. Not today." He looked down. Silent. I asked the question that had been circling my brain since last night, "How long?" He sighed. 6 months. I felt the world shift. 6 months. Half a year. 26 weeks of lies. 180 days of pretending. And then he whispered it. The part that gutted me. "She is 5 months pregnant." I blinked, my knees suddenly weak. That meant he had started sleeping with her the very month I had begun talking to him about trying again for a baby of our own. I had been full of hope. He had been full of secrets. He started to cry. Again. I did not plan for this. I do not even love her. It was stupid. It was physical. But then, she got pregnant, and I panicked. I did not want to lose you, but I could not walk away from the baby either. I shook my head. So you decided to lie to both of us. He stepped forward, reaching for my hand. I made a mistake. A terrible one. But you and I, we have years together. History. I still want us. I yanked my hand away. You made me promise not to leave you, while she was carrying your child. He froze. I did not know how to tell you, he said, voice cracking. You should have told me before you made her a mother, I said. Before you kept sleeping next to me, holding me, kissing me, while knowing what you had done. The rage was finally catching up to the grief. I walked upstairs without another word. I packed a small overnight bag and called my sister Hannah. I told her I was coming to stay for a few days. I needed air. I needed space. When I came back downstairs, Daniel was sitting on the couch, head in his hands. When he saw the bag, he stood. You are leaving? He asked. Yes. What does that solve? It gives me time to remember who I was before I became someone you could lie to. He stepped in front of the door. Emily, if you leave, I do not know if we can come back from this. I looked him in the eyes. We are not coming back from this. Hannah's house in Roswell felt like safety. Like childhood. She made tea and put on the kind of music we used to listen to in high school, old Taylor Swift songs and quiet indie bands. I sat on the couch wrapped in a blanket, numb. She listened while I told her everything. And then she told me something that made my stomach twist. Claire Miller, she asked. She used to work in my building. At Weston and Greer. She was a paralegal. My heart stopped. When? Last year. She left around December. I did the math. That was right around the time Daniel said his new assistant quit. He never said her name. Just that she was young and not cut out for the job. So that was how they met. She had been in my orbit all along. I pulled up her social media again. The baby bump was undeniable now. Her caption read. Little heartbeat. Can't wait to meet you. The comments were full of hearts. Friends congratulating her. One of them said, Girl, you and Daniel are going to make the most beautiful baby. So it was out. Public. Visible. And still. He had tried to keep me blind. That night, I lay awake in Hannah's guest room staring at the ceiling fan spinning slowly above me. It felt symbolic. Round and round, going nowhere. I thought of everything I had sacrificed for our marriage. My career. My body. The miscarriages. The therapy. The hope. The fight. And he had thrown it away like it meant nothing. But I was done being quiet. Done being calm. The next time we spoke, it would not be a conversation. It would be a reckoning. 2 weeks passed. 2 weeks of silence from Daniel, though I knew he was still calling. Still texting. Still begging. I just never opened a single message. I needed space, clarity, and more than anything, I needed truth. I spent those 2 weeks at Hannah's place, in a quiet Roswell neighborhood where the streets were lined with tulips and empty promises. Every day I woke up feeling like less of a wife and more like a ghost of the woman I used to be. And yet, each day I also grew stronger. I spent hours journaling. Thinking. Replaying every moment with Daniel and asking myself the same question, what had I missed? The answer came on a Saturday morning when Hannah walked in with a manila folder and a strange look on her face. You are not going to believe this, she said. Inside the folder were printouts. Emails. A few documents. And one thing I never expected to see. A DNA test. My heart stuttered. Where did you get this? Hannah looked uneasy. Claire's old HR file. She was sloppy with her paperwork. One of my coworkers remembered she once used our office printer to scan some personal things. I guess she never deleted them from the shared drive. I scanned the pages. The DNA test was real. Claire had taken it last month. The name at the top was Daniel Everett. And the result? Excluded. I blinked. Read it again. Same result. Daniel was not the father. I felt the blood drain from my face. But the part that truly broke me open? Attached was a second test. A different man's name. One I recognized instantly. Derek Mason. Daniel's best friend. Our best man at the wedding. The man who hosted dinner parties with us. Who helped Daniel remodel our kitchen. Who once called me the sister I never had. That man. That snake. And this time, the match was 99.9%. I sat down, shaking. Suddenly everything made sense. The distance between Claire and Daniel. His panic. His obsession with keeping me from leaving. He had not just been trying to hold on to me, he was trying to hide what he had done. Or rather, what had been done to him. He had not gotten Claire pregnant. She had been cheating, too. I could not decide if I felt vindicated, or sick. But one thing was clear, I needed answers. And not just from Daniel. I wanted to look Claire in the eyes. I needed to see the woman who had lied to 2 men, destroyed 2 lives, and paraded a baby bump like it was a trophy. I found her. Not online. Not at her apartment. But at a prenatal yoga class in Sandy Springs. Hannah helped me track her down. We showed up quietly. Sat in the back of the studio. I waited until the class ended, then followed her outside. She was glowing. Radiant. Full of life and delusion. When I stepped in front of her, she froze. "Emily," she said, eyes wide. "What are you doing here?" I stared at her stomach, then back at her. "We need to talk. Now." She hesitated, then nodded. We walked to a nearby coffee shop. Quiet. Empty. Perfect. I did not scream. I did not throw anything. I simply placed the test results on the table and watched her face. She blinked. Once. Twice. Then tears filled her eyes. "I did not know," she whispered. I said nothing. I thought it was Daniel's. I swear. Still, I said nothing. She looked up, trembling. Derek was a mistake. It only happened once. I was confused, and Daniel, he was distant. He talked about you constantly. Said he was in love with you. I felt like I was competing with a ghost. I finally spoke. "I am not a ghost, Claire. I am a wife." She looked down. Then she said something I will never forget. "Do not tell him. Please. Let him believe it is his. He wants this baby." I leaned in slowly. My voice was sharp. Clean. Final. He wanted a lie. You gave him one. But now, so will I. She looked confused. Scared. I stood up. "I am going to tell him. And you are going to watch everything you built crumble the same way I did." Then I walked out. That night, I went home. Yes, home. The place I once called mine. Where Daniel still lived, waiting for me like a dog who could not understand why the world had changed. He opened the door, startled. Hair messy. Face tired. "Emily," he whispered. "God, you are here." I walked in. Sat down. He asked if I wanted tea. I declined. Then I pulled the test from my purse and handed it to him. He read it. His breath caught. His hands trembled. And then, silence. Pure, hollow silence. Then he looked at me with the eyes of a man who just realized he had ruined his life over something that was never real. She told me it was mine, he said, choking. She begged me not to abandon her. I was scared. I nodded slowly. You begged me not to leave you while she was carrying Derek's child. He collapsed onto the floor. I watched him cry. Again. But I did not cry. I felt nothing. Because when someone breaks you in half, and you survive it, you do not come back the same. You come back harder. Sharper. Colder. The next morning, I left divorce papers on the kitchen counter. I did not say goodbye. He had said enough. 6 months later, I started my own bakery cafe in Marietta. I named it Second Rise. Fitting, for someone who rebuilt herself out of betrayal and ashes. Hannah came every Saturday. I never saw Daniel again. But I heard that Claire moved in with Derek after the paternity test was forced through the courts. She gave birth to a baby girl. They named her Hope. Life is funny that way. Sometimes the ugliest truths still lead to innocent blessings. But make no mistake. That child may be full of life. But she was born from a bed of lies. And I was finally free.